So let's continue with the same topic, oxides. The bromine oxide Br2O, BrO2 and BrO3 are the least stable halogen oxides and exist only at low temperature. So they are very powerful oxidizing agent. So you can get a question out of it that they can give you so many options and ask you that select which can be the oxide of bromine. है ना? So these three are the possible oxides of bromine, but are actually least stable. So I've already told you most of the oxides um, of like halogens are quite unstable. They can be unstable only under specific temperature, standard temperature and pressure. Okay, if you just change your STP, your oxide formation will distort and your oxide will become some other compound after reacting with each other. So this only exists at low temperature. They are low powerful oxidizing agents. The iodine oxidized, I mean, if we talk about iodine oxides, so I2O4, I2O5, and I2O7 are insoluble solids and decompose on heating. So these are the different types of oxides of iodine, which is I2O4, I2O5, I2O7, and these are like insoluble solids, insoluble solid type of you can say oxides. As we know, iodine is halogen which exist in slightly amorphous form, like solid form, as compared to the other family members. So it exists in solid form. So that is why its oxide will be in solid form only. So they decompose on heating. I2O5 is a very good oxidizing agent and is used in the estimation of carbon monoxide. So what happened? They can give you one more question, say, which among all the oxides of iodine are a good oxidizing agent or used in the assimilation of carbon monoxide. So at that time you will take I2O5. Reactivity of halogen towards other halogen. Halogens combine amongst themselves to form a number of compounds known as interhalogens. So whenever your halogens combine with each other, so they form interhalogen compounds. And interhalogen combination will be like XX. They can be single molecular, they can be like tetramolecular X and X3, X5, X7, where X are the larger size halogen and X dot are the small size halogen. So at that time the criteria will be different. The larger size halogen will donate their electron and the smaller size halogens will accept the electron. So that is why they just differentiate with the dash. X are the larger size halogen and X dash are the smaller size halogens, and when they combine with each other they form such combinations like XX, XX3, XX5, XX7. Okay, so and then these compounds are known as interhalogen compounds. Now let us talk about the important thing of this family, that anomalous behavior of the head of the family, fluorine family. It means fluorine is the head of the family. So let us talk about the anomalous behavior of fluorine family. Ionization enthalpy, electron negativity, electrode potential are all higher for fluorine than expected from the trend set by other halogens. As we know, when we move down to the group, there is a change in the properties. So that is why there is a difference in the properties between fluorine and other family members. Some properties decreases, some properties increases when we go down to the group. So let us talk about the main important properties: ionization enthalpy, electronegativity, and electrode potential. All three are higher in fluorine. It means they decreases when we move down to the globe. Ionization enthalpy decreases, electronegativity decreases, electrode potential decreases. And we know that fluorine is highly electronegative element. So other elements in this family are less electronegative as compared to fluorine. Also, ionic and covalent radii, melting point, boiling point, enthalpy of bone dissociation means bone dissociation energy. You can also use that word also here, bone dissociation energy. Electron gain enthalpy are quite lower than expected. But other properties, apart of ionization and electronegative electron potential, all other properties like melting point, boiling point, bone dissociation enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, covalent radii, ionic radii decreases when we move down to the group. So that is why it's like these properties are quite low than other elements in the group. The anomalous behavior of fluorine is due to its small size. Why the family members, all family members in each and every group shows anomalous behavior? Because of small size as compared to other elements. है ना? Because head of the family has least number of electron, simultaneously has a small size. But when we move down to the group, number of electron increases, atomic size increases, which actually make a difference in properties. Okay, so this the behavior of fluorine is quite different from other family. This is due to its small size. Second point, highest electronegativity. है ना? Fluorine is the highest electronegative element. So small size, highest electronegativity, low FF bond dissociation enthalpy. If fluorine F2 molecule exists, so that bond will be quite weak actually, and the bond dissociation energy is very less. You can break the bond easily. So FF bond dissociation energy is also less, and non-availability of d orbital in valency shell. All right. Valency shell, only p orbital will participate in bond formation in this fluorine. But when we move down to the group, d orbital come into play, which causes shielding effect. Because of that, there is a change in the, there is a difference in the properties of each and every element when we move down to the group. Okay, so most of the reactions of fluorine are exothermic due to the small and strong bond formed by it with other elements. So the reactions which we perform in the presence of fluorine or with fluorine are mostly exothermic. What is the reason behind it? Due to its small size. Secondly, because the fluorine forms strong bond, since it's a highly electronegative element, and when it form bond with the another element, so that bond is quite strong as compared to other, cause of small size, cause of electronegative property. So it forms a strong bond, so we required more amount of bond dissociation and enthalpy and so on. So that is why all reactions are exothermic. It forms only one oxo acid, while other halogen form a number of oxo acids. Only fluorine is the single element in this family that can form only one oxo acid. Other can form multiples. So this question they can ask this type of question also. Can name a family, name a member of a family, halogen family, which can form only one oxo acid. So that will be fluorine. Hydrogen fluoride is a liquid due to the strong hydrogen bonding. We know this thing. We are familiar with HF, hydrogen fluoride. So its boiling point is 298 Kelvin, and it's liquid, generally at liquid in room temperature. So why? Because of the strong bond. Otherwise, fluorine is a gas, hydrogen is a gas. But when hydrogen and fluoride combine, hydrogen and fluorine combine and they form hydrogen fluoride. So because of its nature, it form a strong hydrogen bonding, and because of this hydrogen is bonding, it exists in liquid state, being both of them are gas. Other hydrogen halides are gases, but other than fluorine, other hydrogen halides of other halogens are actually in gaseous state. So this question you can get, that which of the hydrogen halide is liquid at room temperature. Okay, so you can write it like that, which they can ask you in this way, which hydrogen halide exists in liquid form. So that will be hydrogen fluoride. Other fluorides will be in gaseous state only. other halides, sorry, not fluoride, other halides will be exist in gaseous state. Okay, so that was much about fluorine. Let us move to the another element of this family, that is chlorine. And I think we all have studied about so many things chlorine, that this is used to disinfectant water in water purification system, and so many things we have studied. So let's just go into the deep and discuss that what is chlorine and how it react, in what form we can get chlorine in the atmosphere or in daily life. So chlorine was discovered in 1774 by Shelley by the action of HCl on MnO4. So he was the first scientist who just discover chlorine when we react HCl with MnO2, and he'll get chlorine. What he was the one who just tell about that there is a gas which has the specific characteristics and named it as chlorine. So in 1810 they established its elementary nature and suggested that name chlorine on account of its color. Chlorous means greenish yellow. So chlorous is a greenish Greek word which means greenish yellow color. So that is why the Devin named this element as chlorine on the basis of its nature. Because previously scientists or means all those chemists and scientists who were discovering the elements and forming different things, they used to name elements after the names of the scientists. After that, they when they studied the characteristics, physical properties and chemical properties, so they name the elements on the basis of their behavior, their color, their existing states and so on. Okay, mostly means you can say 99.9% chemicals name or compounds names are named after Greek language. Okay, so chemistry is basically you can say a Greek original language. Most of the scientific names are given after the Greek words. So how chlorine is prepared? It can be prepared by any one of the following. First, by heating manganese oxide with concentrated hydrochloric acid. Manganese is Mn. It's a D block element. So manganese oxide when react with HCl, it form MnCl2, Cl2 and H2O. This is a laboratory preparation. Another one also, by the action of HCl on potassium permanganate. KMnO4 when react with HCl, you will get KCl, MnCl2 and H2O plus Cl2. Cl2 will be in the gaseous state only. Now, there are different types of processes apart of these reactions by which we can manufacture chlorine easily. First is the Deccan's process. By oxidation of hydrogen chloride gas by atmospheric oxygen in the presence of CuCl2. CuCl2 will be catalyst and at 723 Kelvin. So that was the process which was first applied to just manufacture chlorine from hydrogen chloride means HCl. So what happened when HCl react with your atmospheric oxygen in the presence of CuCl2? Copper means copper chloride will be as a catalyst in this reaction. It does not take part in bone formation or your reaction. At 723 Kelvin, then you will get chlorine. Second one is electrolytic process. Chlorine is obtained by electrolysis of brine concentrated NaCl solution. Chlorine is liberated at anode. It is also obtained as byproduct on the in the chemical industries. So what happened? Okay, you can use electrolytic process also. How electrolytic process? We just take a brine. Brine is the concentrated NaCl solution, common salt. So when you just switch on the circuit, so your chlorine will liberate out from anode. Okay, and sometimes say this process also applied in some industries, so you will get chlorine as the byproduct of so many reactions. Let us talk about the properties. What are the properties of chlorine? Since we know it's a greenish yellow color gas, that is why its name is chlorine. So it's a greenish yellow color gas with pungent smell and suffocating odor. So it has a signature color and even a signature effect of gas, or you can say smell. So by seeing even the gas in the test tube, you can just identify that this gas is if greenish yellow, so it's a chlorine. but if you can smell that, so it's called suffocation. And it is a pungent smell. Pungent is like tikhi, sharp smell. It is about 2 to 5 times heavier than the air. 2 to 5 times heavier than the gas. It can be liquefied easily into greenish yellow liquid which boils at 239 Kelvin. So you can liquefy this gas also easily, and it will convert into greenish, same color type of liquid, greenish yellow liquid, and the boiling point will be 239 Kelvin. It is soluble in water. Chlorine can easily soluble in water. Chlorine react with a number of metals and non-metals to form chloride. So generally chlorine can react most of the elements, most of the means elements of your periodic table. It can react with metals, even it can react with non-metals mostly. So when it react with metals, it forms metal chloride. Okay, and it when it react with non-metals, so phosphorus and sulfur general are the general examples. PCl5 and S2Cl2, we are familiar. When we were studied about phosphorus and sulfur, we just took these two examples there also. So when it react with metals, it's aluminum chloride, sodium chloride is common salt, iron chloride, so copper chloride. So there are so many examples of chloride with metals, and non-metals we have limitations, but in metals it can combine generally with all the metals. It has great affinity but from hydrogen. It react with compounds containing hydrogen to form HCl. So it readily react with hydrogen, great, show great affinity, since hydrogen has one electron to donate and chlorine will require one. So they can react each other and form a stable compound by sharing even one electron. Okay, no need of multiple bonding, no need of complex compound. So that is why hydrogen being reactive and chlorine being electronegative, they shows great affinity towards each other. So when hydrogen gas and chlorine gas combine, they form HCl. Let us talk about when we talk when we just add hydrogen sulfide with chlorine, since hydrogen sulfide is also a stable compound, but when you react it with the chlorine, the hydrogen being showing great affinity towards chlorine, it react with the chlorine and form HCl, and sulfur will be remain in the reaction as as precipitate. C10H12 plus Cl2 means it's like carbon compounds. When it hydrocarbons react with chlorine, then also it shows great affinity towards hydrogen. Carbon will react with left as residue, and you will get HCl in the reaction also. With excess ammonia, chlorine gives nitrogen and ammonium chloride, whereas with excess chlorine, nitrogen tetrachloride explosive is formed. So there is a reaction when you increase, when we have excess ammonia. When we have excess ammonia, then you will obtain ammonium chloride, that is NH4Cl. You can see the number of molecules, 8NH3. We have excess of ammonia. So when you react ammonia and chlorine, so there are two types of reaction can occur. If you have excess of ammonia and limiting chlorine, so then you will get ammonium chloride and nitrogen gas as the residue. But when you have chlorine in excess and ammonia in limiting, that it can lead to a explosive production of explosive item, that will be nitrogen chloride, NCl3 plus HCl. So this question you can get in your paper, that what happens when during a reaction of ammonia and chlorine is in excess. Okay, so at that time which compound form? So they can give you 2 3 options, for example NH4Cl, NCl2, NH3Cl, and none of these. So at that time you have to be careful about selecting between both these two options. When chlorine is in excess, NCl3 form. When ammonia is in excess, NH4Cl will form. Okay, with cold and dilute alkalis, chlorine produce a mixture of chloride and hydrochloride. But with hot and concentrated alkalis, it gives chloride and chlorate. There is another difference. It reacts in a different way with cold water, in presence of cold water you can say, and it react in different way in the presence of hot water. When NaOH, we are talking about alkalis now. So when NaOH react with chlorine in presence of cold and dilute water, you will get NaCl, NaOCl and H2O. You will get chloride and hypochlorate. But when the same component, your NaOH, react with the chlorine in presence of hot and concentrated water, you will get NaCl, NaClO3 plus H2O. It gives chloride and chlorate to you. So there is a difference. Okay. So you have to read the question carefully, that in the presence of, with this reaction is carried out in presence of cold water or hot water. All right. So with dry slake lime, it gives bleaching powder. When you pass chlorine from the dry slake lime is CaOH whole twice. When you pass chlorine through the dry slake lime, you will get CaOCl2 plus CaCl2 and H2O, calcium chloride and plus H2O. Next, it oxidizes ferrous to ferrite, sulfide to sulfate, sulfur to dioxide, means sulfur dioxide to sulfuric acid, and iodine to iodic acid. So there are different examples. When it react with the ferrous, so FeSO4, this is ferrous sulfate. When it reacts to ferrous sulfate in the presence of H2SO4 plus chlorine, it gives Fe2SO4 3HCl. When Na2SO4 react with chlorine, it gives, means when your sulfite react with the chlorine, it forms sulfate. Na2SO3 to Na2SO4 ban gaya plus HCl. When it reacts with sulfur dioxide, SO2 plus chlorine, it gives sulfuric acid. And when it reacts with iodine, I2, it forms iodic acid. This HiO3 is iodic acid plus HCl. So you have 5-6 questions from these equations only. What happened when ferrous means your chlorine react with ferrous? It will convert it into ferric. When means what happened when sulfite react with chlorine? So at that time it will convert into sulfate. Same sulfur dioxide react with chlorine. Sulfuric acid will form. Iodine react with chlorine. So this reaction actually takes place in water. Sometimes children used to ask me why water is there if they are talking about this only. Because being gases, SO2 is gas, chlorine is gas. If you want to react them, so you have to add water. If you have to just add it, it mixes into the water so that we will get a medium to perform a reaction. Same with iodine and chlorine. We have to mix it with water, then only they can react. So at that time iodic acid we will obtain, and I think this iodic acid is new to you. You have not studied about this iodic acid previously. Okay. So chlorine react with hydrocarbons and give substituent product with saturated hydrocarbons and addition product with unsaturated hydrocarbons. So there is a difference. When chlorine react with saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbons, it just react differently. Okay. So when your chlorine react with hydrogen, means simple hydrocarbons, so it gives like some substituent with saturated and an additional product with unsaturated. अगर हमारा एक नॉर्मल सैचुरेटेड कार्बन कंपाउंड है, मीन्स अगर हम रिएक्ट करा रहे हैं तो पहला कंपाउंड तो हमारा बनेगा एक सैचुरेटेड, बाय प्रोडक्ट बनेगा ही नहीं, सिंपल कंपाउंड बनेगा पूरा लाइक दिस. Then like C2H4 plus Cl2, ethene react with this, it gives CH2Cl2. And when it react with ethane, means methane, at that time you get methyl chloride and HCl. So it depends कि आप उनको किससे react कर रहे हो. You are reacting with saturated or unsaturated. Okay. And saturated unsaturated difference with the bonds. This is a alkane compound. And alkenes have double bond, they are unsaturated. The double bond can break easily and become saturate. I think you have learned about this carbon saturated and unsaturated carbons in 10th class, carbon compounds. Okay,